Okay, so I'm back and I thought I'd get this moving along. I'm going to start by giving you guys a taste of my view on this subject and elaborate on something which I didn't really touch on in the first video, military prowess. Europe, as a highly industrialised continent, has vast military power. It spends 1.63% of its GDP on the EUMS, the European Union Military Staff, which is sort of advisory oversight commission for all the different EU subsidiary militaries which are owned and operated by the countries they serve. 1.16% of its GDP amounts to just under $260.4 billion or 200 billion euros. The four big hitters of EU military power, that is the UK, France, Germany and Italy, account for approximately 13% of world military expenditure. By comparison, the USA accounts for 47% of world expenditure and military spending. In 2009 it spent 4.06% of its GDP on defence, with an equivalent of $782 billion US dollars, or 23.2% of the US total expenditure for that fiscal year. So why compare it to the US? It seems like the USA would seriously own Europe in a war, right? Well, against any single nation I would definitely agree, but united, maybe it's a slightly different story. For instance, the USA's main battle tank, the M1 Abrams, uses British-made and nationally protected by National Secrets Acts Chubham armour. It does use it to a lesser degree than the British Challenger, giving the Challenger a slight edge in the defensive side of combat, but you've got to remember, if we ever went to war, then the leasing of the armour would be obviously suspended for the USA. Tank-wise, the Germans have also just released their new Leopard 2A6 main battle tank, which is going into production and about to see service in the German, Swedish and other EU militaries. The tank is highly manoeuvrable and has a debatably superior gun in the form of the Rheinmetall L55. Now, whether the British rifled main armament is superior to the L55 is a hotly debated issue, which I'm not going to get into at this point because I don't think it has any bearing, because basically both guns are much superior to the one the Abrams uses. And overall, the tank, the Leopard 2, if it could be combined with Chubham armour, would be arguably the best tank in the world. Conversely, the Challenger 2 could be armed with the L55, could arguably be one of the best tanks in the world. At either rate, they would be far, far superior to the US Abrams, and most certainly far superior to the Chinese Type 99 ZTZ-99 main battle tank. Airwise though, Europe, despite its lower spending, comes up pretty good as well. The Eurofighter Typhoon has been called the Raptor Killer in recognition of its ability to hunt and destroy US fighter jets, a purpose for which it was to some degree designed and built for. Obviously a true combat comparison cannot be obtained, but spec-wise the Typhoon is the best air superiority fighter in the world right now. I also think it looks a lot better. Here, however, is where things go a bit south, comparing navies. The USA undoubtedly does have the best navy in the world at the moment, and this is most exemplified in the carrier section. The EU simply doesn't have the capacity of the USA nuclear-powered carriers such as the Nimitz class seen here. Britain and France do have carriers, almost certainly. In fact, in this picture here you can see a comparison between the Invincible class British carrier and the Nimitz class. The Invincible is the small one on the right. Now, certainly France and Britain do have larger nuclear carriers in production. The French have the Charles de Gaulle class, and Britain is currently building its Queen Elizabeth classes. However, at the moment, they just don't come up to the magnitude of the US surface fleet. I mean, the Nimitz class carries a complement of aircraft more than some European countries do, and obviously this power projection allows its navy to be far superior to anything Europe can provide at the moment. But that really is where the US advantage lies, in numbers. The downside is it has repercussions on other parts of the nation. The US spends massive amounts of defence, and this is reflected in the sheer size of its military, but its health services and other infrastructure fall far behind that of Europe. And all this expenditure amounts to what could really only be described as a numerical advantage. Tech-wise, we go toe for toe, and in many cases I think Europe comes out on top. So, what does this have to do with why Britain should join the EU? Well, it's a fair question. I guess all I wanted to do here is really show the potential that Europe has as a united nation. What it has to offer Britain, I suppose. I don't want to come across simply arguing Europe is better than the USA, but I think by comparing it to the world's only superpower, I can really get across the power the EU can potentially wield. Anyway, next time I'm going to talk about some of the financial benefits Britain would gain from joining the EU, as well as mentioning some of the disadvantages, including the pound versus euro debate. So until then, thanks for watching, listening and thinking.